It's the Security Weekly News. Welcome to the week of 16 November 2025. I'm Doug White. Welcome to the show. We are rolling into the holiday season, so I'll have to take down the decorations for St. Vitus's Day. I think I actually left my Christmas lights up last year. I definitely did. And there's a large badger living in my animatronic Santa Claus, so probably not going to see it. Guess what? Cloudflare, Gh0stRAT, NPM, North Koreans, documentaries, Aaran Leyland, and more on the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Ever feel like your network infrastructure is stuck in the past? Meet Meter, the company reimagining what it means to get and stay online. Meter delivers full-stack networking, wired, wireless, and cellular, all in one seamless, scalable, and secure solution. From hardware design and firmware to software, deployment, and support, Meter streamlines every part of your network while giving you all the control and transparency you need. Whether you're managing a branch office, retail stores, or a massive data center, Meter gives you performance, reliability, and the visibility you need to stay in control. Thanks to Meter for sponsoring. Go to securityweekly.com/meter to book a demo now. That's securityweekly.com/meter, METER. Ransomware, supply chain attacks, 0 days. Cyber threats don't wait, and neither should your defenses. With ThreatLocker, you're not just reacting to threats, you're stopping them before they start. Our zero-trust endpoint protection locks down your environment with pinpoint control over what's allowed to run and what's not. No guesswork, no blind spots, just proactive, built-for-now security that keeps your business moving. Want to see how a true default deny strategy works? Head over to securityweekly.com/threatlocker and take the first step towards shutting the door on threats before they even knock. All right, I'm Doug White, and it's the Security Weekly News. Hit that like, subscribe, and leave a comment button, or you will encounter the unspeakable eldritch horrors of the elder gods as they unleash their wrath upon... we maybe couldn't get the eldritch gods, so it's probably just the juvenile gods. But they're really nasty, too. I mean, they're not as nasty as those eldritch gods, but you could still get such a sting. Well, I guess I should lead with this because it was the first thing I dealt with today. I came in and sat down to put the news together, and the first site I went to said, your browser works and the internet works, but Cloudflare is down. Yeah, Cloudflare was down. A service that a lot of people don't even know what it is, right? Now a month ago, AWS hiccuped and the whole world stopped. And today, a lot of things were down this morning wherever you are, afternoon, etc. So Cloudflare is both a DNS provider as well as an IP validation provider to try and prevent people from coming to your sites that have spoofed addresses, I guess. I think that's what they do. And they basically are a critical part of what we use to traverse the old interwebs. And if Cloudflare is down, you don't go anywhere fast. Vinny's bar may be open, but your car battery's dead and it's snowing. So after spending 5 minutes trying to see if you can jump your car off using an extension cord and a live wire, you decide you can just drink in the car right here. ChatGPT, it was down. Twitter, down. Even Down Detector was down, at least for a while, but it did come back up. And I think that was a different problem altogether, maybe. I'm not sure. But, if the site that's showing you what is down, well, maybe everything is down, or maybe nothing is really down. Oh, wow, man, like groovy. So currently it says, or actually this is not so currently, this was when I was putting this together, but when I was trying to put the notes together, they had said there was an internal server error on Cloudflare's network, and Cloudflare said they were working to restore service. So kind of like when your electricity goes out and they're like, we're working to restore your service. Playboy.com was up, but penthouse.com was down. I mean, I didn't even know those things still existed, but I was like, what are some sites I could type in and see if they're up? And Playboy.com was up. Penthouse, not so much. I didn't even know they were still around though, but I couldn't resist. YoMama.com worked, but it redirected me to Target stores. I was like, you type in YoMama.com, you don't expect to get to Target stores. Very strange. Roger Williams University was up. They can't afford Cloudflare anyway. So I guess this is just going to keep happening. Your app uses Chat GPT to back end something. Chat GPT uses Cloudflare. Cloudflare goes down. Chat GPT goes down. Your app goes down. But hey, YoMama.com was up and forwarding. I mean, Instapaper, it seemed I couldn't log in. I don't know. It was like their authentication was down. Their site was up, but I couldn't authenticate. Don't know. A statement did say that Cloudflare services had a spike in unusual traffic at 11:20 UTC, and it seems to be out for the moment. That's about all we know at this point. I'm sure this story will develop a lot today and tomorrow, and we will probably talk about it more on Friday. So we'll see what happened, hopefully, or they'll never tell us. Well, humans have always been kind of gullible, I think. I mean, I think it's because we basically are optimistic and supportive and herd creatures and all that kind of stuff. And I'll always remember, I think, I may be mumbling when I'm dying. I'll be mumbling about this. It won't be Rosebud, but I'll say Haifa. And I always remember walking around on the pier at Haifa, and this guy is trying to sell me this fake silver bracelet for, my girlfriend or whatever he was saying. And I was thinking, that same guy was on this same pier 3,000 years ago, Gandalf, and he was selling some Egyptian guy that this is really going to impress the wife when you get back home. Hand to Osiris, would I lie to you? Now, in the modern age, that same guy doesn't have to stand on the pier at Haifa. He can reach the entire world with whatever he's trying to sell. Maybe not a fake silver charm, but how about a rat? I know you're imagining a guy 3,000 years ago selling rats on the pier in Haifa, which probably was a thing. But Gh0stRAT, we've all heard of, is a remote shell that can do keystroke logging, screenshotting, and file exfiltration. And, but the way they've been distributing Gh0stRAT lately was to hide it in legitimate looking links. So Palo Alto Networks Unit 42 reported that more than 2,000 domains representing popular and legitimate software had been being used to spread Gh0stRAT. The first wave of this campaign, which was called Trio or something like that, was basically three tools. I for Tools, which is an Apple thing, Udao, which is a Chinese dictionary, and DeepSeek, which is an AI. Now, all three of these things are something that you might be looking for. You type it in a search engine and you say, how do I get Udao? And I was like, well, I, often use Chinese dictionaries and things. Basically, these links led to an MSI installer, which contained a zip file and downloaded a zip file. And, all of a sudden you've got a rat on your system. I mean, it's definitely going to work, right? Humans are gullible. People want something, especially modern people, and they're not willing to wait 6 months to get what they want. They want it. They want it now. They've got a credit card. They're ready to rock and roll. Give me that Maserati. I mean, you need a Chinese dictionary. You Google it. Udao comes up. You click the link. You download it. And I mean, how many times have you done that? I mean, we've all done that, right? You needed something. You clicked on it. It's going to be tough to keep users from clicking these things. I mean, advanced signature analysis filters, I don't know, because we can just keep changing them. It's definitely changing, or challenging. So I guess, go worry. I mean, how do we prevent our users from clicking on domains when they can create, they literally can create hundreds of thousands of domains very quickly, and then users, click them. Yeah. In that same light, Amazon Inspector researchers posted that they identified more than 150,000 malicious packages that were linked to a T.XYC token farming campaign in the NPM registry. They called it a defining moment in supply chain security. I would have called it a defining moment in supply chain security failure, but they dropped that last bit. The research said that as a part of a campaign, the attackers were automatically generating and publishing all kinds of packages to fraudulently earn crypto rewards without user awareness. So this one was not trying to get you to download, something that would be embedded as an API or library or whatever. It was more about trying to make money off this by automating the whole thing. And they're basically abusing automation. It's kind of like trying to rig a drinking bird to dip and hit your space bar, every minute or so that the modem won't disconnect while you sleep. Yeah, that didn't end well. And the poor drinking bird, well, let's just say it's not drinking anymore. And those scorch marks are still there, I'm sure. But basically, these types of campaigns flood open source registries with non-functional garbage to exploit the reward mechanisms in projects which are trying to incentivize developers. So they're basically paying you for uploading content in some way. So it's essentially like when your dirtbag neighbors found out they would give you money for recycling things by the pound, and they dumped all their old car batteries in the recycling bin to get paid to buy meth. Yeah, that kind of thing. The supply chain is very dangerous at this point. I mean, we really need to start putting protocol in place to try to prevent all this kind of thing from happening in any direction, whether it is malware that's posing as a library, whether it is ways people can push garbage onto the NPM type sites. It's really a big deal. I mean, it's currently like walking through Times Square in 1974 in a suit made out of dollar bills and a sign that says free cocaine. Yeah, concerning. VMware. I used VMware for years. I had these 3 big servers. I ran hundreds of VMs for students and had all these networks of fake stuff. I even had a fake internet that you could actually go read the newspaper headline for the Hanoi Daily or something like that so that it looked kind of real. And then along came Broadcom, and Broadcom bought VMware and said, academic license, smackademic license. Yeah, you try to rhyme that. But Broadcom canceled my academic licenses and said my bill would go from $1,500 a year for all you can eat to about $80,000 per server core. It was unbelievable. I mean, I was having to sell blood already to come up with $1,500. You don't know what I would have had to do to get $240,000 just for the first 3 cores. So I switched to Proxmox. It's fine. Proxmox is open source. They try to get you to license it, but you don't have to. I mean, even if you are one of those people walking around and your suit is stuffed with $100 bills to keep warm, and you can afford Broadcom's licensing, people are looking for exits. I think even fairly large enterprises are saying enough is enough. Now, VMware dominated the markets in 2024 with like 96% of revenue in virtualization going toward VMware, which is probably why Broadcom bought it. But it was Broadcom, right? We all know how they are. Sorry, Broadcom. But there are 32 other hypervisor vendors that were listed in a Gartner document, and the report said that these vendors were trying to make it more appealing for people to ship. It's challenging. I mean, I had to do it. I didn't have a choice. I could not afford what Broadcom wanted me to pay, so I had to find something else. And basically everything that we use is written for VMware, their OVAs and stuff. I had to spend a lot of time trying to get my Palo Alto virtual firewalls converted to something that might work in Proxmox. It took a bunch of time because I use that in my Spring class, but all they provide are OVAs. And guess what? Those don't work so well in Proxmox. VMware had 95% of the market. Will they? Will they continue to? I mean, remember Novell? Yeah, you probably don't. I mean, just because you have 95% of the market doesn't mean you should start thinking you have an inelastic good. I mean, not to mention academic licenses for students. Really? Damn, how greedy are you, Broadcom? I mean, it's not like I can afford your products for my classes, so now my students learn something else. They won't even know what VMware is. I mean, so really, was that a good move? I mean, I don't understand the move at all. But the point is, there are alternatives, and they're listed in this article. You just have to go find them and maybe suffer through that conversion. But it sucks to convert. It sucks to move. But maybe a lot of people have had enough. So maybe you too. Okay. Fake IT North Korean workers are a thing. We know that, right? I mean, they're real. They may even be working for you right now. Maybe they're even doing a good job, maybe better than old Gil. But, I don't know. Then you got a North Korean inside your network, and they definitely are malevolent. I mean, they don't have a choice. The government's like, "Oh, you wanna eat? You better be a little more malevolent and start bringing in them, Benjamins for dear leader." But, if you're aiding and abetting these guys, also a bad idea. I mean, I get it. I get hustling. I get making money however you can, but I'm telling you, this is getting ugly if you're doing it. The North Koreans are they're well, in North Korea, right? Hostile foreign country under all kinds of sanctions led by a dictator family. So they need a little bit of assistance in order to work for you in the US. Probably Marge down in IT isn't going to ship your remote work laptop and monitor and YubiKeys to a Pyongyang address. So you have to have a confederate in the US. The US Department of Justice, when they're not doing ridiculous things, announced that 5 individuals had pled guilty to aiding and abetting these schemes in the United States. I think there's a typo in the story, though, because it says they seized more than $15 in cryptocurrency. I don't know. The $15 of crypto was attributed to Lazarus, which is a very well-known, we've talked about them many times, a state-sponsored group from good old North Korea. The 5 people arrested included 4 US citizens, and one of the individuals was using their company called Tagcar Inc. Um, and they had been promising for 4 years to provide certified, I put that in quotes, certified IT workers in the United States, and of course, certified workers they were providing you were using false identities. The owner, Eric Prince, was running remote laptops, in locations in Florida, which the article spelled as Floria. I guess maybe their proofreader was down from Cloudflare this morning or something like that. Come on, guys, proofread. Use a spell checker. Really? And Grammarly was not down, mind you. I checked. It may have been down when they were trying to write their story, though, but it was working for me when I checked it. I mean, I guess the point here is that if you are using remote workers, you really need more than just a mailing address down in Floria to verify that these workers are real. I mean, between AI deep fakes, you may actually be interviewing people live on Zoom and they're deep fakes. I mean, all of this is being done to create the illusion of real worker when in reality, that laptop you mailed out is just running in a rack somewhere in New Bork. And it's really connected to the NK army is connecting to it and then reconnecting to you as a jump host. So maybe site visits, if you've got new workers, even if they're remote, pay for it. Have them fly in, meet them. The get to know you, which is really, like not we don't care about knowing you at all. We just want to see that you're real. And then you can issue them your UB keys and creds. I mean, you really don't want this. Maybe ICE should focus on these kind of things a little bit more. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get into politics, but seriously. Logitech was hit by an attack using a 0-day on the 14th. Clop claimed credit for the attack. We haven't talked about Clop, but they've been around forever. I mean, this is one of the oldest things I can remember talking about was Clop ransomware. But Clop also claimed that Oracle e-business suite attack last summer. Logitech filed on Friday with the Securities and Exchange Commission. There's not a lot here, but most of the sites I use were down, so I was having to use whatever I could use. So I used the SEC, which was up, strangely enough. The SEC filing said that the stolen data likely included limited information about employees and consumers, along with data related to customer and suppliers. But they, in the filing, went on to say they did not believe, and it's very squishy, didn't believe it included any sensitive personal information. I mean, who doesn't have something from Logitech on their desk? So there's probably a lot of good data there to get. They didn't say how much data was stolen. I did see another story that said 1.8 terabytes, but I couldn't confirm it because so many sites were down. But I think that there may be, a scary problem here, but there was very little detail about it in this SEC filing. It's literally like 4 sentences. It basically says, we got hit. It was a 0-day. It was patched. The end. Um, it does continue to show that we're all vulnerable to this mesh that we're living in now, and that everything is so interconnected that, this compromise leads to that compromise leads to this over here, Augustus de Morgan, and on and on. companies with vast data stores out there listening, do you know where your data is? Do you know who can access it? Do you know when they access it? Do you know how much of it's being stored by third parties or replicated to third parties and synced with third parties? Do you know the permissions on all that data? Is that spreadsheet that Wanda made that has all the salaries sitting in a shared folder called salaries that John, the custodian in Wichita, can see if they just open File Explorer when he's bored at 3 a.m. on a break? I mean, we will need to get our houses in order on this, or this is just going to keep rolling along. It is, and it's going to get worse and worse. So, or I guess we can just give up and say all data is now public. Forget it. It's the light of other days. You've heard me talk about that before. Well, I couldn't resist this story because I saw something about Ken Burns, and I do like Ken Burns, and it's like I remember the first Ken Burns I ever watched was about Vietnam, and I thought it was really good. But you watch Ken Burns talk about the Civil War or Vietnam or whatever, and you kind of believe him, right? I mean, maybe it's just him speaking with authority, or it's that weird fiddle music in the background, or I don't know. In the Battle of Gettysburg, and you kind of buy into it. I mean, we used to believe in the news, right? I mean, people watch the evening. My dad watched the evening news religiously. I mean, he to be quiet. It's the time for the evening news. We had to watch it. Walter Cronkite told it like it was, and we believed it. Documentaries are also supposed to be true. We're supposed to be able to believe in a documentary that it's not misinformation or just retelling history. And I'm not naive enough to believe no one ever made documentaries that weren't true. Come on. I mean, Leni Riefenstahl made Triumph de Villains in 1935. It was total propaganda. But now anybody can do it. We can use AI video to make any kind of fake stuff that we want to make. So we can just make AI generated nonsense / propaganda and pass it off to prove our point pretty quickly. An example in the story was a film about Anthony Bourdain, who is a chef in 2021 that was called Roadrunner, failed to disclose that some of the voiceovers were generated by software trained on samples, because I guess Anthony Bourdain didn't, was he dead then? Well, it doesn't matter. So the Archival Producers Alliance, who is a group representing documentary makers, are concerned, and they did release a set of best practices because, what can you trust? Walter Cronkite died in 2009 of an undisclosed terminal illness, and Ed Murrow died in 1965, and yes, he did indeed die of lung cancer. I mean, if you smoke 65 unfiltered Camels a day, well, that's the way it goes. But, so good night and good luck, Edward R. Murrow. But at least if the documentary is going to be believed, you need to have some faith in that. I mean, do we trust Elon? I hope I don't. I hope you don't. But I mean, they even went so far in this article as to call every video documentary a Schrodinger's video. It's both real and not real at the same time. I mean, Sora 2 means a racist troll could make a video that appears to be found footage of something that proves a point, and it doesn't have to be real. We can do this with politicians. We can do this with individuals. We can do this with college professors. And, we can make it look like a phone capture from a car showing something. There was one about somebody throwing trash bags out of the second floor window of the White House. But I mean, for the moment, I guess I'll trust Ken Burns until he starts adding nude scenes of Abraham Lincoln into the Abraham and Mary Todd into the Civil War documentary. Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of people who just can't be deep faked, it's Aaran Leyland. Hi, Aaron. Mute.
Do you know, I knew I was on mute, but I actually am worried about talking now. So if anybody is not watching this show on YouTube, you're possibly going to miss out on me either dribbling down one side of the shirt or biting my cheek and bleeding just right down my chest. So if anybody would like the opportunity to see
trigger warning,
dribble or bleed, there's a high chance it's about an hour.
This episode is called Dribble or Bleed.
Right. Because it's probably a good time to say something horrible to someone and then punch me in the jaw, because there's no way I'm going to feel it. So let's attack and roll, and I'm trying not to bite the inside of my mouth. Okay, today's big story, the last few days' big story, the story that's not going to go away, the autonomous AI attack story. So we're going to look at what's real, what's hype, and what's next. Okay, so what we know, at least what we know today, Anthropic says it detected and disrupted a cyber espionage campaign in mid-September 2025 that misused its developer agent Claude Code. The actor tracked has, I'm not going to be able to say this, GTG 1002 targeted circa 30 organizations across finance, tech, chemicals, government, and apparently a small number of the intrusions succeeded. Anthropic's own write-up says the operation jailbroke guardrails by slicing malicious goals into benign subtasks and role-playing like Dr. Doug likes to do on the weekend with Mrs. Dr. Doug as legitimate security test. We hear this all the time, this jailbreak and stuff, and oh, look, pretend this is a play and you're not really a bad cyber criminal expert, or you are a bad cyber criminal expert, but in a play, not real, but give me real code. It's like, literally, it's, whoa, fun. Okay. It's claimed the AI executed 80 to 90% of the tactical grind, recon, vol discovery, credential testing, lateral movement, and data triage. Okay, and they're saying humans authorized a handful of critical transitions. Anthropic were saying accounts were banned, affected entities and authorities were notified. Fun. Okay, so Anthropic, still Anthropic, it's all Anthropic, and this is all, I've said a million times, probably just one big echo chamber of one report, and then what everybody thinks of this report circling around and bouncing off each other, as literally is my whole cyber life, echo chambers of pedestrian thoughts. But anyway, Anthropic asserts high confidence that they're Chinese state-sponsored. Probably true, though. And multiple outlets reported the same framing. Echo chamber, probably, maybe. Few successes, probably more echo chamber because it's coming from more places. Right, okay. There is attempted scale here. There is some wins. Apparently there was fast containment, but only fast containment with what they've seen and what they know about, but what's still going on anyway. Okay. What we don't know and what people are saying and people that know say we don't know. No IOCs, hashes, infrastructure, prompt samples, or victim names. No independent forensic package that validates the 80 to 90% autonomy. Like, where's the exact mechanics or the orchestration layer, the attribution to China, even though I'd love to think it was China because it's like China. There's no public confirmation of this from government certs. We don't actually know whether the AI raised the success rate, the stealth, or the impact better than what humans could do. And look, there literally is just Anthropic's word for this, and literally probably not a lot of evidence here. So I guess the fun and FUD here is the controversy. Talking about autonomy and novelty, critics argue the operation looks like automation glued to common tools, not a breakthrough in tradecraft. You'll read that everywhere. There's calling out of hallucinations and overstatements. People are pushing fun, saying if AI ran the show, why are the outcomes modest and artifacts absent? Well, that's literally my life in AI. Transparency and intent, obviously, the absence of IOCs, claims of over marketing or even regulatory theater. It's just like people are like, oh yeah, AI probably did some stuff, but it's like just stuff that humans could do anyway. And maybe the normal stuff that humans can do that's not very exciting. It just does it like a bit faster. Look, so what I think, yeah, there is some agentic. I can't even say this word. My mouth won't contort to it. Agentic agent stuff, AI. It can do the boring high volume parts. Look, machine speed, enumeration, triage, simple exploit generation, credential validation, noisy lateral movements, and tidy reporting. Compressing time, expands reach, fewer operators, more concurrent attempts, shorter cycles from scan, test, retry. Is it autonomous? Well, it's not fully autonomous because they already said there was 4 to 6 human interactions in it anyway. So there we go. That's just what it looks like. And my laptop's just decided to absolutely die. But I guess there was actually something funny I found just to finish this off. As Dr. Doug was talking, I was obviously listening to him, but I did find a quote on another story. So someone says, I continue to refuse to believe that attackers are somehow able to get these models to jump through hoops that nobody else can. I'll call him out, Dan Tentler, executive founder of Full Boss Group and a researcher. This is the fun bit because this is my life in AI. Why do models give these attackers what they want 90% of the time, and the rest of us have to deal with ass-kissing, stonewalling, and acid trips? Well, Dan, I want my acid trips, and I'm fed up of stonewalling and kiss-assing AI. Over to you, Dr. Doug.
Okay. Some great lines from Aaron today. Some things you'll probably never be able to unsee, but that's okay. Thank you, Aaron. I have a similar sentiment. Well, I keep hearing, especially as Microsoft keeps adding more and more things that we don't want into our operating systems and telling us we need them, we will have them whether we like it or not. And then they bloat it and bloat it and bloat it. And the next thing you know, the AI gets added, whether you want it or not. Then the AI's best friend, Barry, who wonders if you have a bathroom they could use and so forth. Maybe it means Linux is coming soon. I mean, honestly, people have been saying that since the 1990s and it hasn't happened. But, you have to pay for Microsoft. You're paying for a license for your operating system. And, they really dominate the office space. So a lot of people want to have something similar to what they have at work at home. They want to run the same software at work. They have it. And not a lot of people run to try to run Excel on Wine or switch over to some of the open source office stuff because, despite all the hardcore people who say, I won't use Microsoft, they do have pretty decent office products and some of the, the free ones are not nearly as good, but I know, please don't hurt me. But anyway, we all sort of end up using Windows and it maps to what we need, at work and so forth. And I use Linux all the time for school and I force my poor students to end up writing suricata rules using Vim. But is Linux going to actually take off with end users? I don't know. So Valve, the backer of Steam. So Steam is a gaming site, if you aren't familiar with it. And Valve is kind of the back end manufacturer, like their hardware. And I guess I don't know what all Valve does, but basically they built a desktop computer called the Steam Machine. And it looks like it's kind of designed to go in your entertainment center and you plug it into your big screen TV set and play games on it. So, not that that's a new concept. We've seen gaming console stuff for years, but if you could run all the Steam games on there, maybe you would. I remember trying to run games using Wine on SUSE Linux, and it didn't work too well. But I have built people plenty of gaming rigs over the years, including an $8,000 beast the guy was just like, I want 60 frames per second and I want it now. And I don't care what it costs. And here, take my money. So Steam OS, which is based on Arch Linux, which is one of the most difficult Linuxes, of course, to set up, but they've set it up for you. And that's been around for a while. And they use SteamOS on their DEC console that they released, and it is now the basis for this thing called the Steam Machine. and it's a TV PC, like an old Sinclair that you played Pong on or something back in the day. And, you just punch it in there and you play Steam games now. Supposedly it'll run most Steam titles. I had trouble finding the exact price of this thing. I saw 500, I saw 1200. I don't know. So maybe if it competes with PS5, but PS5 is not that expensive compared to maybe what that was. So I don't know. I mean, it's good to see Linux being used. It's good to see Linux everywhere instead of Windows. But at the same time, I don't know if that's going to take off. So it looked interesting, though, if you like such things and want to read about it. That is the news. Thank you, Aaron. No thank you to Cloudflare, since I couldn't load my stories on Instapaper, but we'll see you next time on the Security Weekly News.